The Galactic Assembly had existed for 3,000 cycles. It was a coalition of 12 peaceful species who had long ago decided that war was simply too expensive and too painful. They had created rules, they had built trust, they had learned to live together in harmony across hundreds of star systems. The Assembly met once every cycle on a massive space station called the Harmony Ring. It floated in neutral space, far from any single species' territory. The station was beautiful. Its walls glowed with soft colors. Its halls were wide and quiet. Everything about it was designed to make visitors feel calm and safe. For generations, the 12 species had worked together. The Velith were delicate creatures that looked like large moths, with 6 wings. They were artists and poets. The Orun were small and soft, similar to slugs but with kind eyes and gentle voices. They were philosophers and diplomats. The Krell were tall and thin with skin like tree bark. They were scientists and builders. Each species brought something valuable to the Assembly. None of them had fought a war in over 1,000 cycles. They had evolved past violence. They communicated through soft lights and gentle sounds. They ate only plants and synthesized nutrients. The very idea of killing another living thing made them feel sick. Then the sensors detected something new. Deep in an unexplored region of space, around a small yellow star, a new civilization was rising. The species called themselves humans. They came from the 3rd planet of their star system, a world they called Earth. The Assembly Council gathered to discuss this discovery. Ambassador Pillow of the Orun stood before the great circular table. He was old and wise, with soft gray skin and large dark eyes that showed nothing but kindness. "A new species," Pillow said, his voice like a whisper. "This is wonderful news. We must welcome them. We must invite them to join our family." The other ambassadors agreed. This was what the Assembly always did. They welcomed newcomers with open arms. They shared their knowledge and their friendship. Every species they had contacted had eventually joined them in peace. "Send the invitation," the council decided. "Let us meet these humans." Far away, on the planet Earth, the message arrived. Ambassador Kyung was in her office in Seoul when the call came. She was 42 years old. A respected diplomat who had spent her life solving problems between nations. She had black hair that she kept short and practical. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She had a habit of smiling when she was thinking hard about something. "We received a message from space," the president told her through the screen. "It appears to be genuine. An alien coalition wants to meet us. They are inviting us to a peace conference." Kyung sat very still for a long moment. Then, she smiled. "When do we leave?" The human delegation was assembled quickly. Kyung would lead as chief ambassador. She chose her team carefully. Captain Tae was a military officer from the Korean Space Defense Corps. He was tall for a human, with broad shoulders and a calm face. He rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. His job was to protect the delegation and to observe the alien military capabilities. Dr. Hana was a xenobiologist from Seoul National University. She was younger than the others, only 34, with a round face and curious eyes. She had spent her entire career dreaming about alien life. Now, she would finally meet it. The 3 of them stood together in the briefing room, looking at images of the aliens that the message had included. "They look so different from us," Hana said softly. "The Velith are beautiful, like butterflies." "The Orun look friendly," Kyung observed. "Soft features. Large eyes. They were probably prey animals at some point in their evolution." Tae said nothing. He was studying the space station in the images. He noticed that there were no visible weapons. No shields. No defensive structures. These aliens had never prepared for war. The humans built their ship in 3 months. They called it the Hangang, named after the river that flowed through Seoul. It was not a warship, but it was built by humans, which meant it was built to survive. The hull was thick metal. The engines were powerful, and yes, there were weapons on board. Humans never traveled anywhere without the ability to defend themselves. "It is just for protection," Kyung told the United Nations Council. "We hope we will never need to use them." The council agreed. Better safe than sorry. When the day of departure arrived, thousands of people gathered to watch. The hang gang sat on the launch platform like a great metal bird. Its surface gleamed in the morning sun. Cameras from every nation broadcast the moment to billions of viewers. Kyung walked up the ramp with Tae and Hana beside her. She paused at the top and turned to wave at the crowd. Her smile was confident. She was not afraid. Humans had been explorers since they first walked out of Africa. This was simply the next step. Let us go make some friends, she said to her team. The engines roared to life. The ground shook. And then the hang gang rose into the sky, climbing higher and higher until it was just a bright dot among the stars. Then it jumped into hyperspace and was gone. On the Harmony Ring, the assembly prepared for the arrival of their guests. The Velith hung beautiful silk decorations in the welcome hall. The colors shifted and flowed like living things. The Orin prepared nutrient paste in 100 different flavors. They arranged cushions and soft lighting. They wanted the humans to feel comfortable and at peace. The Krell checked the translation systems one more time. Language would not be a barrier. They had been communicating with the humans for months through messages. The words would flow smoothly. Everyone was excited. A new species was always a cause for celebration. The assembly had welcomed 11 species before. Each time, the newcomers had been nervous at first but quickly learned to love the peaceful ways of the coalition. No one expected the humans to be any different. No one had done any research on human biology or history. Why would they? Every species they had met before had been similar to them. Gentle, peaceful, evolved beyond violence. The day of arrival came. The assembly members gathered in the welcome hall. Pillow stood at the front, ready to give the opening speech of friendship. Beside him, the Velith ambassador fluttered her wings with nervous excitement. They are here, someone announced. The massive doors of the docking bay began to open. Through the window, they could see the human ship approaching. It was nothing like they expected. The hang gang emerged from hyperspace with a flash of light so bright that 3 Velith ambassadors immediately fainted. The ship itself was terrifying. It was not smooth and organic like assembly vessels. It was angular, hard, covered in metal plates that looked like armor. And along its sides, there were rows of objects that looked very much like weapons. "What is that?" Pillow whispered, his soft voice trembling. No one answered. They all stood frozen, watching as the nightmare ship slowly approached the Harmony Ring. Inside the welcome hall, the decorations suddenly seemed very small. The soft cushions seemed very useless. For the first time in 1,000 cycles, the Galactic Assembly felt something they had almost forgotten: fear. The hang gang docked with a heavy clang that echoed through the Harmony Ring. The sound was harsh and metallic, so different from the soft whispers that usually filled the station. The assembly members in the welcome hall all took a step backward without meaning to. Pillow tried to calm himself. He was old. He was wise. He had welcomed 11 species into the assembly. He could do this. "Remember," he said to the other delegates, "they are guests. They have come in peace. We must show them our hospitality." The Velith ambassador nodded, though her 6 wings were trembling. The Krell delegate stood as still as a statue, his bark-like skin pale with worry. Everyone watched the airlock door. There was a hissing sound. Then the door began to open. Ambassador Kyung stepped through first. She was wearing a formal black suit. Her hair was neat. Her posture was straight and confident. She took 3 steps into the welcome hall and then stopped, looking around at the beautiful decorations with interest. Behind her came Captain Tae in his military uniform. His shoulders were wide. His eyes scanned the room quickly, checking every corner. This was instinct for him. He could not help it. Dr. Hana came last, her eyes wide with wonder. She was looking at everything at once, trying to memorize every detail. The Velith silk hangings, the soft glow of the walls, the strange and beautiful aliens standing before her. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Then Kyung smiled brightly and stepped forward with her hand extended. "Hello," she said in a warm voice. "I am Ambassador Kyung from the planet Earth. We are so happy to meet you. Thank you for inviting us." Pillow tried to respond. He really did, but his voice would not come, because now that the humans were standing in front of him, he could see them properly, and they were terrifying. They were huge. Pillow had known from the messages that humans were large, but knowing and seeing were very different things. Kyung stood at 165 centimeters. This was average for a human female, the reports had said, but to Pillow, who was only 60 centimeters tall, she was a giant. She towered over him like a mountain, and Captain Tae was even bigger. At 182 centimeters, he seemed to fill the entire doorway. His shoulders were as wide as Pillow was tall. His hands looked like they could crush stones, but the size was not the worst part. The worst part was the eyes. Every species in the Galactic Assembly had eyes on the sides of their heads. This was normal. This was safe. It meant they could see all around them. Watch for danger from every direction. It was the mark of peaceful creatures who had evolved to watch and run. The humans had their eyes on the front of their faces. Both eyes pointed forward, locked onto whatever they were looking at. This was a predator trait. This was how hunters looked at their prey. When Kyung smiled at Pillow, her eyes were staring directly at him, and he felt like a small animal being watched by something that wanted to eat him. Is everything okay? Kyung asked. Her smile faded slightly. She was confused by the silence. The Velith ambassador let out a high-pitched squeak and flew straight to the ceiling. She grabbed onto a support beam and refused to come down. What did I do? Kyung looked at Tae and Hana. Did I say something wrong? Hana was already pulling out her tablet, checking her notes. I don't think so. Maybe they're just overwhelmed? Pillow finally found his voice. It was thin and shaky, but it was a voice. Welcome, he managed to say. Welcome to the Harmony Ring. We are pleased to meet you. Kyung's smile returned. To her, smiles were friendly. They showed happiness and warmth. She did not know that to the assembly, showing teeth was a threat display. When she smiled, she revealed 2 rows of white bone, flat in the front for biting and sharp in the back for tearing. Pillow nearly fainted. Thank you so much, Kyung said. Your station is beautiful. The decorations are lovely. Did the Velith make them? She turned her head to look up at the Velith ambassador on the ceiling. Her eyes tracked the movement like a targeting system. The Velith whimpered and pressed herself closer to the beam. She seems upset, Kyung said with concern. Is she afraid of heights? Should we help her down? No, Pillow said quickly. She is fine. She is just resting. Captain Tae stepped forward, and 3 delegates immediately scrambled backward. He was so large, so solid. His footsteps were heavy on the floor. His face showed no emotion, which somehow made him even more frightening. At least Kyung smiled. Tae just watched everything with those terrible forward-facing eyes. Nice place, Tae said. His voice was deep and calm. Good defensive position. Clear sightlines. Solid structure. He was being complimentary. Tae appreciated well-built things. But to the assembly, his words sounded like he was evaluating the station for an attack. I would like to see the docking systems later, Tae continued. Professional interest. We can compare engineering methods. The Krell delegate made a sound like breaking branches. This was the Krell expression of terror. Hana stepped forward quickly. She had noticed that the aliens were afraid, though she did not yet understand why. Please don't worry, she said gently. We are peaceful. We came here to make friends, not to cause trouble. She crouched down to be closer to Pillow's height. She was trying to be less threatening. But to Pillow, watching a giant predator crouch down brought back ancient evolutionary memories of things preparing to pounce. He took 3 quick steps backward. I'm sorry, Hana said, standing up again. I didn't mean to startle you. Kyung looked around the room. Something was wrong. She was an experienced diplomat. She knew when people were uncomfortable. But she could not figure out what the problem was. Perhaps we should sit down, she suggested. We have been traveling for a long time. Maybe everyone would feel better if we could relax and talk. Pillow nodded quickly. Yes. Sitting down was good. Sitting down meant the humans would be smaller, less threatening. This way, he said. Please follow me to the meeting chamber. He turned and began moving toward the exit. The other delegates parted around him, giving the humans a wide path. None of them wanted to walk close to these creatures. As they walked through the corridor, Hana admired the soft, glowing walls. This is beautiful, she said. The light is so calming. How do you generate it? Bioluminescent organisms, a Krell delegate said quietly. They live in the walls. Amazing, Hana said with genuine enthusiasm. Kyung walked beside Pillow. She had to take small steps so she would not get too far ahead of him. She noticed that his skin seemed to be changing color slightly. She wondered if that meant something. Ambassador Pillow, she said politely. I want you to know that humanity is very excited about this meeting. We have always dreamed of meeting other intelligent life. We have so many questions. We want to learn about your cultures, your histories, your technologies. We want to share everything we know with you. Pillow looked up at her. Her eyes were still locked onto him. Her teeth were still visible in that terrifying smile. That is, very kind, he managed. They reached the meeting chamber. It was a large round room with cushions arranged in a circle. Soft music played from hidden speakers. Everything was designed to promote peace and calm. The assembly delegates took their places on one side of the circle. The humans sat on the other side. Tae sat down heavily, and the cushion compressed under his weight. Kyung crossed her legs elegantly. Hana pulled out her tablet and prepared to take notes. For a long moment, everyone just looked at each other. Then Pillow cleared his throat. So, he said, tell us about your planet. Tell us about humans. Kyung's smile grew wider. I would love to, she said. Where should I begin? And in that moment, watching those teeth gleam in the soft light, Pillow realized that he had made a terrible mistake. These creatures were not like the other 11 species. These creatures were something else entirely. He just did not know how different they truly were. Not yet. The first day of meetings went as well as could be expected. Ambassador Kyung explained that Earth was a planet of many nations, many languages, and many cultures. She talked about human history, carefully leaving out the many wars. She described human art, human music, human dreams. The assembly listened in silence. They were still too frightened to ask many questions. But they were starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, these giant predators were not planning to eat them. When evening came, Pillow announced that there would be a formal dinner. This was assembly tradition. Sharing food together was how species built trust. Every new member had been welcomed this way. We have prepared a feast, Pillow said. Many different nutrient pastes in many flavors. We hope you will enjoy them. Kyung nodded politely. That sounds wonderful. But if it is okay, we have brought our own food from Earth. We were not sure if your nutrients would be safe for human biology. Pillow agreed. This seemed reasonable. Different species often had different dietary needs. The Krell, for example, needed minerals that would poison the Orun. The Velith could only eat certain plant nectars. Having the humans bring their own food was not strange. What happened next was very strange indeed. The dinner hall was beautiful. Long tables were arranged in rows, covered with soft cloths that glowed with gentle colors. Music played softly. The lighting was warm and peaceful. Every detail had been considered to make the humans feel welcome. The assembly delegates took their seats first. Bowls of nutrient paste were placed before them in various colors. Green for the plant-based flavors. Blue for the mineral supplements. Purple for the special Velith nectar blend. Then the humans sat down. Captain Tae placed a large container on the table. We brought bulgogi, he said. Traditional Korean dish. My grandmother's recipe. He opened the container. The smell hit the assembly members first. It was rich and complex. Unlike anything they had ever encountered. There were notes of sweetness, of salt, of something dark and smoky. It was overwhelming. Several delegates began breathing through their mouths to escape it. Then they saw what was inside. Meat. The container was full of cooked meat. Sliced, thin, covered in sauce, still slightly steaming. It had clearly once been part of a living creature. The Oran delegate next to Pillow made a small choking sound and covered his eyes. "What is that?" the Velith ambassador whispered. She had finally come down from the ceiling. But now she looked like she wanted to fly back up. "Beef," Hana explained helpfully. "It comes from cows. They are animals on our planet. We raise them for food. You eat animals?" Pillow's voice was barely audible. Kyung paused with her chopsticks halfway to the container. She suddenly realized that something was wrong. "Yes," she said carefully. "Humans are omnivores. We eat both plants and animals. Is that a problem?" No one answered. The entire hall had gone completely silent. Every alien was staring at the container of meat with expressions of pure horror. Tay shrugged and picked up a piece of bulgogi with his chopsticks. "More for us, I guess." He put the meat in his mouth and began to chew. The Oran delegate ran from the room. The sounds of vomiting could be heard from the corridor. Kyung set down her chopsticks. "I'm so sorry. We did not mean to offend anyone. We did not know that eating meat would be disturbing to you." Pillow was trying very hard not to look at the container. "We evolved past consuming other creatures long ago," he said weakly. "All assembly species eat only plants or synthesized nutrients. The idea of killing another living thing for food is..." "It is." He could not find the words. "We understand," Kyung said quickly. "We will eat in private from now on. Please accept our apologies." "We will eat in private from now on," but it was too late. Because Tay was still eating, and the assembly members could not look away. They watched as his teeth tore into the meat. Those white bones, slicing through dead flesh. The sound of chewing filled the silent hall. Wet. Grinding. Mechanical. Tay ate with the efficiency of a creature that was designed to consume other creatures. Then Hana started eating too. She made small sounds of appreciation. "This is delicious, Captain. Your grandmother was a great cook." "Thanks," Tay said, reaching for another piece. "She taught me everything I know." A Krell delegate fainted. He fell off his cushion and lay on the floor like a fallen tree. No one moved to help him. They were all too focused on the nightmare happening at the human table. Kyung stopped eating. She could see that the damage was done, but she was not sure how to fix it. "Perhaps," she said carefully, "we should discuss something else? Maybe you could tell us about assembly culture. What do you do for entertainment?" "Or not." Pillow seized onto the change of subject like a drowning person grabbing a rope. "Yes. Entertainment. We have many forms of entertainment. Music, art, poetry. We have beautiful gardens on our home worlds." "That sounds lovely," Kyung said. "On Earth, we also have music and art. We have gardens too. And we have sports." "Sports?" Pillow asked. "Physical competitions," Kyung explained. "Games where people test their speed and strength against each other. Running, jumping, swimming, fighting." "Fighting?" The Velith ambassador's voice rose to a squeak. Kyung winced. "Wrong word. Not real fighting. Not violent fighting. It is more like dancing with contact. We have rules to keep everyone safe. You fight each other for fun?" Pillow was having trouble processing this information. "Some of us do," Hana said. "I personally prefer reading books and watching movies." "What are movies?" Pillow asked. "Stories told through moving pictures," Hana explained. "We have many different kinds. Comedies to make us laugh. Dramas to make us think. Romances about love. And action movies with lots of exciting events." "What happens in action movies?" Hana hesitated. She suddenly realized that most action movies involved violence. Car chases. Gunfights. Explosions. Things that these peaceful creatures probably could not even imagine. Exciting events, she repeated weakly. People having adventures. Tay finished his meal and wiped his hands with a napkin. Good food. Anyone want to try some? He held out the container toward the nearest alien delegate. The delegate fell backward off his cushion trying to get away. No? Okay. Tay shrugged and put the lid back on the container. The dinner ended shortly after that. The assembly delegates made excuses and hurried away to their quarters. They needed time to process what they had seen. They needed time to calm down. Alone in the dining hall, the three humans looked at each other. That did not go well, Kyung said. I don't understand, Hana said. What did we do wrong? We were being polite. We were being friendly. Tay thought about it for a moment. Maybe they're vegetarians, he suggested. Some people on Earth are vegetarians too. They don't like it when other people eat meat in front of them. Maybe, Kyung said. But it seemed like more than that. Did you see how they looked at us? They were terrified. Like we were monsters. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly into the darkness. Somewhere out there, 12 species had been living in peace for thousands of years, and now humans had arrived, and everything was changing. We need to figure out what we are doing wrong, she said. Before this peace conference becomes a disaster. I'll do some research, Hana offered. I'll study their body language, their biology. Maybe I can find some answers. Kyung nodded. Good. Because right now, I have a feeling we are scaring them. And I do not know why. She did not know that across the station, Ambassador Pillow was having an emergency meeting with the other delegates, and the word they kept using, over and over again, was the same word, predators. The humans were predators, and the assembly had just invited them into their home. The next morning, the real negotiations began. Ambassador Kyung had spent the night reviewing her notes and preparing her speeches. She wanted everything to be perfect. This was the most important diplomatic mission in human history. She dressed in her finest black suit. She practiced her smile in the mirror. She rehearsed her opening words until they sounded natural and warm. Today is going to be better, she told Tay and Hana. We will focus on our common ground. We will show them that humans want peace just as much as they do. The meeting chamber was full when they arrived. All 12 species of the assembly were represented. Delegates sat on cushions around the circular room, watching the humans with wide, nervous eyes. Kyung walked to the center of the room. She stood tall and confident. She had done this 100 times before, addressing the United Nations, speaking to world leaders, negotiating treaties. She was good at this. Good morning, she said with her brightest smile. Thank you all for being here. I am honored to speak to you on behalf of all humanity. Across the room, delegates pressed themselves back against their cushions. The smile, those teeth. It was like watching a predator bare its fangs before an attack. Kyung did not notice. She was too focused on her speech. Humans have dreamed of this moment for generations, she continued. We have looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now we know the answer. We are not alone, and that fills us with joy. She made eye contact with several delegates as she spoke. This was what diplomats did. They connected with their audience. They made people feel seen and valued, but to the assembly, her gaze was terrifying. Those forward-facing eyes locked onto each delegate, like targeting lasers. Each one felt like prey, being selected by a hunter. We come to you with open hearts and open minds, Kyung said. We want to learn from you. We want to share with you. We want to build something beautiful together. She spread her arms wide in a gesture of welcome, but her arms were long. Her hands were large. The gesture looked less like welcome and more like someone preparing to grab something. Ambassador Pillow raised a trembling appendage. May I ask a question? Of course. Kyung turned her full attention to him. Her eyes locked onto his face. Her smile intensified. Pillow struggled to find his voice. You speak of peace. But your ship has weapons. Why does a peaceful species need weapons? It was a fair question. Kyung had expected it. For protection, she explained. Space is dangerous. There are asteroids, radiation storms, unknown threats. We never travel anywhere without the ability to defend ourselves. It is not aggression. It is caution. But you have never been attacked in space, Pillow pointed out. This is your first journey beyond your own system. Kyung paused. This was true. On Earth, we have learned that it is better to be prepared. Our history has taught us that peace must be protected. Sometimes, the only way to protect peace is to be strong enough that no one wants to break it. This was meant to be reassuring. It was not. The assembly delegates looked at each other with growing alarm. The humans had weapons because their history had taught them to have weapons. What kind of history was that? What had these creatures been doing on their planet? Captain Tay stood by the door as security. He had been standing still for a long time, and his muscles were getting stiff. Without thinking, he stretched his arms above his head and yawned. His mouth opened wide. His jaw stretched to an impossible angle. Rows of teeth were exposed. And he made a long, loud groaning sound as the yawn escaped him. 2 delegates passed out immediately. A Velith screamed and flew in circles near the ceiling. Several Orin began shaking uncontrollably. Tay closed his mouth and looked around in confusion. What? What happened? You yawned, Hana said quickly. I think the yawn scared them. The yawn? Tay was bewildered. It was just a yawn, but to creatures who had evolved to fear predators, a wide-open mouth full of teeth was a threat display. It was a warning. It said, "Look what I could do to you if I wanted." Ambassador Kyung tried to regain control of the room. Please, everyone, stay calm. Captain Tay was just stretching. He is not threatening anyone. Humans yawn when they are tired. It is completely normal. Tired? Pillow's voice was thin. You are tired? Do you need to rest? Do you need to hunt? What? No. Kyung was confused now. We ate breakfast. We are fine. The captain was just stretching his muscles. Your muscles need stretching? A Krell delegate asked nervously. Yes. Human muscles get stiff if we stay still for too long. We need to move them regularly. This was somehow even more terrifying. The humans had muscles that required regular maintenance. They were not soft like the Orin or delicate like the Velith. They were built like machines designed for movement and strength. Dr. Hana stepped forward. She had been watching the aliens carefully, and she was starting to understand the problem. May I say something? She asked softly. Kyung nodded. At this point, anything was worth trying. Hana spoke slowly and gently. I think there may be some misunderstandings between our species. I have noticed that you react strongly to certain things we do. Our smiles, our eye contact, our eating habits. I want you to know that none of these things are meant to threaten you. She lowered her eyes, looking at the floor instead of at the delegates. On Earth, smiling is a sign of happiness. It means we are friendly. When we look at someone directly, it shows respect and attention. We are not hunters selecting prey. We are friends trying to connect. Some of the tension in the room eased slightly. Hana's soft voice and lowered gaze were less frightening than Kyung's confident stance. We understand that we look different from you, Hana continued. Our biology is different. Our history is different. But inside, we want the same things you want. Peace, friendship, understanding. Pillow listened carefully. His ancient eyes studied Hannah's face. She seemed sincere. She seemed genuinely kind. But there was something she had said that caught his attention. You mentioned your history, he said. What is your history? How did humans become what you are? Hana hesitated. Human history was complicated. It was full of war and conflict, violence and conquest. How could she explain it to creatures who had not fought in 1,000 years? Our history is mixed, she said carefully. We have done good things and bad things. We have created beautiful art and terrible weapons. We have built great civilizations and destroyed them. We are still learning. We are still growing. The room was silent. The aliens processed this information. Finally, Pillow spoke. You destroyed your own civilizations? Some of them, Hana admitted. Long ago. We have learned from those mistakes. Have you? Pillow asked quietly. It was not an accusation. It was a genuine question. And Hana did not know how to answer it. In the corner of the room, a small Oran delegate was quietly drafting surrender terms. He did not know what the humans would demand. He only knew that when predators came, prey had two choices: run or submit. The assembly could not run. Their only home was this station, this coalition, these worlds they had built together over thousands of years, which left only one option. But Pillow was not ready to give up yet. He looked at the humans, these strange, terrifying creatures who claimed to want peace. And he made a decision. Tell me more, he said. Tell me everything about your species. I want to understand. Because maybe, just maybe, understanding was the third option. That night, Dr. Hana could not sleep. She lay in her quarters on the Harmony Ring, staring at the softly glowing ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. The aliens were afraid of them. This was now clear. But why? What exactly was so terrifying about humans? She got up and went to her tablet. For hours, she studied everything she could find about the assembly species, their biology, their evolution, their psychology, and slowly, the pieces began to fit together. Every species in the assembly had evolved from prey animals. The Velith came from moth-like creatures that hid from predators. The Orun had evolved from soft-bodied things that lived in caves. The Krell were descended from tree-dwelling beings that never came down to the ground where danger waited. None of them had ever been hunters. They had never chased anything. They had never killed anything. For millions of years, their ancestors had survived by running and hiding, and hoping that the predators would not find them. And then humans arrived. Humans, whose ancestors had hunted on the African plains. Humans, whose bodies were designed for endurance chasing, for wearing down prey over long distances. Humans, whose forward-facing eyes tracked movement with terrifying precision. Humans, whose teeth could bite through bone. To the assembly, humans were not just strange visitors from another world. They were the monsters from their oldest nightmares. Hana understood now. She needed to explain this to the others. And she needed to find a way to show the assembly that humans, despite everything, were not their enemies. The next morning, she requested a private meeting with Ambassador Pillow. Just the two of them. In a small room with soft lighting and comfortable cushions, Pillow agreed. He was curious about this human scientist with her gentle voice and lowered eyes. She seemed different from the others, less threatening, less predatory. When they sat down together, Hana spoke first. Ambassador Pillow, I think I understand why your people are afraid of us. Pillow's large dark eyes widened slightly. You do? We are predators, Hana said simply. Our biology, our evolution, everything about us comes from millions of years of hunting. Our eyes face forward because we needed to track prey. Our teeth are designed to tear meat. Our muscles are built for chasing and catching. She paused. To you, we must look like something from a horror story. Pillow was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Yes, you do. I am sorry, Hana said. We did not know. On Earth, we are so used to ourselves that we forget how we must appear to others. We did not mean to frighten you, but you are what you are, Pillow said quietly. You cannot change your nature. No, Hana agreed. We cannot change what we evolved from, but we can choose what we become. She leaned forward slightly, keeping her eyes down. On Earth, we have many predator animals. Lions, wolves, eagles. They hunt because they must. They have no choice. But humans are different. We have minds that can think beyond instinct. We can choose to be gentle, even though we were built for violence. Pillow listened carefully. We have pets, Hana continued. Small animals that live with us in our homes. We could eat them. We could hunt them. Instead, we love them. We protect them. We care for them. Like family. You keep prey animals as companions? Pillow was trying to understand. Yes, cats and dogs and birds and fish. Some humans even keep prey animals that look like your species. Small, soft things with big eyes. We find them beautiful and precious. We would never hurt them. Pillow thought about this. It was strange. It was almost impossible to believe. But the human woman seemed sincere. Let me tell you something about human history, Hannah said. You are right that we have violence in our past. We have fought wars. We have done terrible things to each other. But we have also done something that predators almost never do. She looked up, meeting Pillow's eyes directly for just a moment. We have learned to live with each other. Billions of humans on one planet. And most of us never hurt anyone. We have built societies based on cooperation. We have created art and music and science. We have learned to turn our predator instincts into determination, curiosity, and loyalty. Pillow's voice was soft. Why? Why would predators choose peace? Because we realized that peace is better, Hannah said simply. Fighting is exhausting. War destroys everything good. We learned, slowly and painfully, that working together gives us more than fighting ever could. She smiled then, but gently, with her lips mostly closed. We are not monsters, Ambassador. We are just different. And different does not have to mean dangerous. Pillow sat in silence for a long time. He was old. He had seen many things in his long life. But he had never seen anything like these humans. Finally, he spoke. What do you want from us? Friendship, Hannah said without hesitation. That is all. We want friends among the stars. We want to learn from you and share with you. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And if we say no? If we tell you to leave and never come back? Hannah's face fell slightly. Then, we would be very sad. But we would respect your wishes. We would not force ourselves on you. That is not what friends do. Pillow studied her face. He looked for signs of deception, of hidden threat. He found none. Your people smile when they are happy, he said slowly, and laugh when they are pleased. These things frighten us. Can you change these behaviors? Hannah nodded. We can try. Ambassador Kyung has already started practicing keeping her lips closed when she smiles. Captain Tae is wearing dark glasses to hide his eyes. We want to make you comfortable. You would change yourselves for us? We would adapt, Hannah said. That is something else humans are good at. We adapt to new situations. We find ways to make things work. Pillow made a decision. He reached out with one soft appendage and touched Hannah's hand. Her skin was warm and firm, so different from his own cool softness. But the touch was gentle. It was kind. I believe you, he said. I believe you want peace. The negotiations resumed that afternoon, but everything was different now. Pillow had spoken with the other delegates. He had shared what he learned from Hannah. Ambassador Kyung gave her speeches with a closed-lip smile. It looked strange to her human colleagues, but the aliens seemed more relaxed. Captain Tae wore reflective glasses that hid his predatory gaze. He stood very still and avoided yawning. The assembly asked questions about human culture, and the humans answered honestly. Yes, they had fought wars. Yes, they ate meat. Yes, their history was violent. But they were trying to be better. They were working toward peace. On the final day, the peace treaty was signed. The Galactic Assembly officially welcomed humanity as a friend and ally. Not a full member yet, but a beginning, a first step. As the humans prepared to leave, Pillow came to see them off. You are strange creatures, he said to Kyung. Terrifying and gentle at the same time. I do not fully understand you. Kyung smiled her new closed-lip smile. We do not fully understand ourselves either. But we are learning, just like everyone else. There is one thing I have realized, Pillow said. If humans are predators, then perhaps predators are exactly what the assembly needs. Kyung tilted her head. What do you mean? We have been peaceful for 1,000 years, Pillow said. We have no weapons, no defenses, no way to protect ourselves from danger. But now we have friends who are built for fighting. He paused. If trouble ever comes, it might be good to have predators on our side. Kyung laughed, then quickly covered her mouth. Sorry. Laughing reflex. It is okay, Pillow said. I am getting used to it. The Han gang departed the Harmony Ring and jumped into hyperspace. Inside, the three humans looked at each other and smiled. We did it, Hana said. We made friends. We scared them half to death first, Tae pointed out. But then we made friends, Kyung repeated. That is what matters. She looked out the window at the stars streaming past. Somewhere out there, 12 species were talking about humans. Some were still frightened. Some were curious. And some, like Pillow, were starting to understand. Humans were predators. There was no changing that. But they had chosen to use their strength for protection instead of conquest. They had chosen friendship over fear, and in a galaxy full of gentle prey animals, that made them something unexpected. It made them heroes.